Hello and welcome to this latest installment of the Introspect Technology I3C video series. Today we'll continue to talk about SidebandBus testing, and we're using the same setup as before. We have the SV4E I3C test and debug module positioned here on the left in this image, connected to a DDR5 DIMM that's mounted on a CTC2 board, which is a typical test platform for DDR5 DIMMs. In previous demos, we showed how to initialize a bus, how to reset a DIMM, and how to discover devices on the DIMM. Today, we're performing read and write operations on an SPD register. So I'll start with my basic test program that I had before, where we are resetting the DIMM and then initializing the sideband bus. Then I will paste some code here, and then we'll go ahead and explain what this code does. So here I'm just printing that we will read from MR0 on the SPD hub. We expect a value of hexadecimal 51. And so the way we read from the hub is to use the sideband bus controller component class as before, and to use the SPD read register method on that component class. So you can see that the Introspect API is very human readable. There's a set of bytes that we expect to get, and these are obtained by calling a read method on the sideband bus controller component. So it's really that simple. And then in terms of attributes or arguments rather for this function, we are specifying the slave address itself, which is the SPD on HID7. And then we're specifying the register address within the SPD, which is 0. And then we're saying we want to read just 1 byte. The rest of this code is just conditioning code to compare the received data to what we expect and to declare a pass-fail value on it. So I will click Run now. So the sideband bus controller, the SV4E, will reset the bus, then it will initialize the bus, and then it will run the read operation. So the reset operation was successful. We've initialized the bus, and then here we've started to log that we are reading from register MR0 on the SPD. And then we've received a value of 81 decimal, which is 51 hexadecimal. And then we're declaring that the value we have read is equal to the value that we expected to be in that register by default. And so we're declaring the test as a pass. So this is already a very clear demo of how to read from the SPD hub. But we will go ahead and look at the protocol analyzer trace as usual, because that gives us good insights. So the protocol analyzer trace, after the reset operation and after all the initialization of the sideband bus, now it's declaring to us that it has seen a read command on a specific SPD address, so DIMM7 SPD, which is address 57. So I click on it here. We'll see the typical I3C frame construction, where you have a read request. At the first phase here, we're putting in the address for the slave that we want to read from and the register that we want to read from. And then finally, the actual data that's coming back is at the bottom here, and that's what we're seeing on the right-hand side of the timing diagram at the bottom. So this was a very quick demo of how to read from a specific register within an SPD hub on a DIMM. So you can imagine for automation, you can just write loops like this where you're going through all MR registers on the SPD hub and extracting their values. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure to tune in again to see further videos on the SV4E I3C test and debug module.